Hi, this is Kishore and welcome back to KishoreLytics. In this video, we are going to dive something exciting and very interesting concept called the Windows aggregation functions. Like in my previous video, we have discussed about the Windows aggregation functions and we have discussed about the syntax of the Windows aggregation functions, right? So now in this video, we are going to discuss about the aggregation function in the Windows aggregation functions. In the Windows aggregation function, we are going to discuss about the sum functions, count functions, min functions, average functions, and the max functions. After discussing these type of the functions, we are going to discuss about the use cases of the Windows function, that is called the rolling total and the running total. We are going to discuss. So I don't want to take much time of you guys. Let's dive into it. Yes guys, in my previous video we had discussed about the Windows functions and we had discussed about the syntax of the Windows functions. And in this video we are going to dive something exciting and that is called the Windows aggregation function. That today's agenda is all about the Windows aggregation functions. Right. Before getting into the Windows aggregation functions, let's recollect the syntax of the Windows function. Right. So now let's discuss. So the syntax, let me write it down, the syntax. Yes. So here we have discussed about the Windows function. Inside the Windows function, we have to give the arguments, function expressions, right? We have discussed in the previous video. If you have missed the previous video, please make sure to watch that video and after come to this video. So we have discussed, we have to pass the arguments, right? We have discussed about some Python code in my previous video. And after this Windows function, when we giving the over function, then only the SQL knows it is a Windows function. It is not the aggregation function. We want to calculate the Windows function on the function. That's the main intention, right? Inside the over class, there is a function. We have categories into the three categories. Inside the over class, we have categorized three classes, right? So the first class is called about the partition by. So partition by, I'm just writing something called product. Okay, nothing. The first category is the partition by. The second category is called the order by, right? Order by, I'm just writing the order date. I'm just writing the spelling mistake. Okay, don't worry about guys, the spelling mistake. Okay, order date. So no, don't put the comma. Again, the third category is called about the frame class, right? So the rows and preceding and unpreceding, we have seen that in the previous video. So this is, I think this is optional, right, for Windows aggregation function. For Windows aggregation function, it is optional for the rows preceding, but we may give that Windows rows preceding, and that's also the, here we will use the rolling function, right? Running total, rolling total. We have the use cases of the rows preceding, rows unbounding is right, called the rolling function, rolling total. We have discussed a lot of things are waiting, guys. Just subscribe to the KishoreLytics channel and still wait for the last video until watch the last video. So now let's dive into the function. So in my previous video, we discussed about the Windows function is categories into the two types, right? The aggregate functions, the rank functions, and the value analytical functions. In the next video, we discuss about the rank functions, and in the next video, we have discussed about the value functions, right? The today's agenda is all about the Windows aggregation function. So we want to perform the calculations on the set of the rows and return a single aggregated value for the each row. Aggregation is nothing but that we have discussed in the previous video, right? Aggregation is nothing but we want to perform the calculations. That's the main intention. We want to perform the calculations. Just note it down, guys. We want to perform the calculations on the set of the rows, right? That's the main intention. We want to perform the calculations on the set of the rows and return a single aggregated value. That's the main intuition. And return a single aggregated value. Return a single aggregated value for each row. That's the main intuition of the Windows aggregation functions, right? For each row. So that means Windows function is called about the row level calculation, right? Row level calculation. So the group by is in the previous video we discussed about the group by. The group by is called the group calculations, right? We have discussed in the previous video. So now I don't want this group by calculation. We have discussed about the row level calculations, and in this today's agenda we are going to discuss about the aggregate functions. So in the aggregate function there are 5 categories we are going to discuss. The first is called sum, average, count, max, and min. So now let's dive into it. So The main agenda is about the aggregation function is called the, we want to aggregate the values and perform the calculations. Aggregation is to perform the calculations. Let me write it down again and again so that you can able to memorize the concepts. So to perform the calculation and give the result as the single output value. Result as a single output value or single summary, whatever it may be, right? We are going to summarize it. To summarize the entire column, and the summarization of the entire column is 175. So that can be applied to 175, 175, 175, 175, 175, 175. It is applied to all of the columns and based on the aggregation. That's the aggregation. Windows aggregation functions comes into the picture, right? So now let's discuss about the Windows aggregation function. So in the previous video itself we have discussed, right? We have discussed about the syntax. It is the Windows aggregation function. Inside this is the functional expression, right? Functional expression we have discussed. So today's agenda is all about the theoretical session. Later we will discuss about the practical session in the next videos. Then in my upcoming videos we will discuss, right? So the average sales, inside this we are calculating the functional expression. After giving the over class, then only the SQL knows it is not an aggregation function. We want to perform the Windows aggregation functions, right? After giving the over class, so inside the over class we have to calculate the partition by product ID. Partition by is optional and the order by is also optional. We have discussed in the previous video itself, right? So we are partition by product ID, order by is sales. So it is going to discuss whether it is the ascending or the descending. So that's the main intention of the Windows function syntax. Like in my previous video itself, we have discussed the syntax and we have covered a lot of things in the previous video itself. The main agenda is all about the aggregation functions, aggregation Windows functions, right? So in my previous video itself, we have seen this visuals. For the aggregation functions, the expression is for the count function. We have used the all data type. The sum function, it is maybe the integer data type, and average function is also in the integer data type. Mostly we perform these four functions: sum, average, min, max on integers only. That's the main intuition. So the partition by class is optional. The order class is also optional. The frame class is also optional for the Windows aggregation function. That's the main intuition, guys. So let's discuss about what does the count function does and what the sum functions and the average functions and the min functions and math functions does. So what is the use of the count functions? It returns the number of the rows in a column in a window. In a window means it is window is nothing but the in a window. We consider this is an entire data set. Yeah, consider this is a data set as a window. Inside this window, we are going to calculate the subset of the data. Right? This is one subset. This is one subset. This is one subset. We are going to calculate the subset of the data. We are going to perform the operation on the subset of the data. That only we are going to the Windows function, right? So the count function is all about that. We are going to return the number of the rows in a window. How many number of the rows in a window? We are going to discuss the use cases of the count function. The summary function is sum function. Sum function is used to return the sum of the values. As we know in the previous from 10th itself, the sum function is known, right? Sum function is used to sum of the values in the window. So average function returns the average of the values in a window, and min function it returns the minimum value in a window, and max function it returns the maximum value in a window. The syntax, the example for this: count of star over partition by product, sum of sales over partition by product, and sum of the sales. I think here I just want to put the average of sales over partition by product, and the sum of the sales over partition by product, and the sum of the sales. I think here we want to put the min. And here we want to put the max of sales over partition by product that we have discussed in the Windows aggregation functions. Right, now let's discuss about the count function detailing on how the count functions works behind the scene. Let's discuss. Yes guys, now let's dive into the brief description of the how the count function works behind the scene. Now let's discuss. So the count function it returns the number of the rows in a window, right? So the query of the count function is the count star of inside. Star means it is everything, right? In the first video itself we have discussed, right? Count means everything, all we have discussed in the first in the introduction of the SQL crash course itself. We have discussed the count of star. So over the partition by the product, right? So inside if we write this query and we have run the query, right? So it enters into the database. Consider this is a database. Inside the database I have the three columns. I have the two columns. The one column is the product and the second column is called the sales, right? So inside the products, I have the 3 caps and 3 glasses. So now the query gets into the database and it checks when the named as a column, and it will be count when how many we are giving the product is. We are going to categorize the subset of the data based on the product. So the query done the caps as one window, consider the caps as one window and the glass as another window, right? I'm explaining very clearly, right? So the query we are going to partition by the products, right? So the products can be categorized into 2 subset window, because there are 2 products are available in our data set. One is called the caps and one is called the glasses, right? Now we are going to perform the calculation of count, but we are going to use the over function, right? So it is performs the row level calculations. So how many caps are available? 1, 2, 3. So it will be given the output as a 3, 3, 3 and 3. How many classes are available? 1, 2, 3, right? So 3, 3, 3. So that's all about the count function. It returns the number of the rows, but it returns the number of the rows in a window. How many? But we are going to categorize grouping the entire data set into the partition subset of the data. When we are grouping the entire data into the Windows function, right? So that's only the caps gets into it. Are you guys beware of this count function? If you have any doubts, please make sure to let me know in the comment below. I'm happy to share all those notes, all those comments. So okay, fine. So now let's dive into the brief how the work with the how the count functions works with the nulls without work with the excluding the nulls. Let's discuss. So the count function, it returns the number of the rows. It includes the, if when you use the star, when we use the 1, it includes the nulls. Guys, main note, please make sure to note of this point. It counts the number of the rows including the nulls. It also counts the nulls. That's only if you don't want to exclude the null. If you want to exclude the null means you just want to give the column name. Just give the column name. Count of sales over partition by product. If you give that like that means it will doesn't count the null. That's the base intention. Null star means what? It is everything, right? It the null is also a function. Null is also a data type. Null is also a value. It considers the count function considers nulls as also a value. So only counting the nulls as a 3. Okay, guys. Are you guys beware of this? It counts the number of the rows including the values when we use the star. It counts the number of the values when excluding means you want to give the column name. When we give the column name, the count function doesn't count the null value. That's the main intention of this visual, right? So now let's discuss about the count function. We have discussed the count. If you give the count of 1 over partition by product, it is everything is same, right? Count of true, 1 means true, right? Count of true and star means everything. If you do like that means it will be get into the database and counts how many caps. There are 3 caps, right? And the make as the output in the row level calculation as 3. How many gloves? There are 3 glosses, 3 products. Consider the null. It is considered null as the one value. Null has to be the one value. So it considered gloves as 3 products. So it will be giving us 3. So I don't want to count the nulls. So I'm just giving the column name. Instead, if we give the column name means it doesn't count the nulls. It does not count the null. That's the main intention of the count functions, right? Product, sales, count. If you give the caps, it consider 3, 3, 3. If you give the gloves, there are 2 glosses. Without excluding the null means there are 2 glosses, right? So the output has been 2, 2, 2. That's the main intention of the count function, guys. Now let's discuss about the sum function. I think this is the second aggregation function we are going to discuss. It returns the sum of the values. It returns the sum of the values in a window. Same like that, we are going to return the sum of the values. Sum of sales. If we give like this, means it is not allowed. It is not allowed, right? So over partition by product, we are going to give like that. So is not allowed means we are going to give like it also we can give, but it is not allowed. So is not allowed over the partition by product, right? Product. Let me have the database called product sales, and inside this product I just having this. There are 20 cells in the cap ID 1. Let me consider this ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, for this caps there are 20. For the ID 1 the caps will be sales as 20. For the ID 2 the caps has been sales as a 10. For the ID 3 the caps has been sales as 5. So we are giving the sum of sales, right? Sum of the sales means we want to give the over function partition by product. Partition by product means the SQL knows we want to partition by product, so the product can be divided into the 2 categories. One is caps and one is gloves. So that is considered to be the SQL consider this entire data set into the two subset of window. One is caps and one is gloves. And if we give the summarization means we will get the 20, 10, 35, right? Again we will do that something called here I am just having the 10, 5, 5 means it just count as a 20, right? That's the output summation. So the output has been applied in the row level calculation 35, 35, 35 and 20, 20, 20. That's all about the summation functions, how it works begin the scheme, right? So if you give the sum of the sales over partition by product, if you give the products there are three caps and the sales is 20, 10, 5. So we don't want to here if we give the sum of the sales means here also that is null is to be considered as 0. There is no value for the null, right? So caps and gloves, there are three gloves 30 plus 70 and 30 plus 70 means 100, right? 100 is to be replaced in the row level calculations. So it SQL consider this the gloves as one window and caps as another window. We are going to partition by the product. Based on the product we are going to partition by. That's only there are two subset in the our database based on the product means caps and gloves. So if we give the summarization 20 plus 10 30, 30 plus 5 35. So it will be applied 35, 35, 35. 30 plus 70 100, right? So 100, 100. That's only in the null also is to be applied as 100. So that's all about the summation functions, right? So I think it will be grouped into the sum of the values and it will be applied in the row level calculations. It doesn't collapse any. The main agenda of the row level calculation is that the main agenda of the row calculation is that it perform the calculation. It doesn't collapse the rows. That's the main. It doesn't collapse the rows. That's the main intuition of the row level calculations, right? So let's discuss this. So now let's discuss about the third aggregation function that is called the average. What is meant by the average? Average, let's discuss about the average. Before getting into the average, we want to know what is meant by the average, right? Average is a function in the 10th class itself. These my subscribers and what the students are to be known. If you are the max student, so it is called the sum of the sales, sum of the products or whatever maybe sum of the numbers divided by total number of numbers divided by total sum of all divided by total of all. That it means the count, right? So that's all about here itself. I'm just writing, right? 20 plus 10 plus 5 divided by how many products? There are 3 products, right? So 3. If you do that like that means we can have the average of 1. That's all about the average, right? The same replica, the same there we are doing the sum function, here we are doing the average functions. Nothing difference, guys. Average of sales we have discussed, right? Average of sales over partition by product. Here there are now we are writing the overclass, so the SQL is considered this as a Windows function. So we want to partition by the products. There are two subset of the data. One is caps and gloves, and it will make the average. That's all about the average function, guys. So default average function exclude nulls, but we don't want to obey the nulls, right? So we want to consider the null as the 0. So we will use the null, deal with the nulls using the coalesce function. What is mean the coalesce function? We are discussing the datetime function itself, right? Coalesce function replace the null for the first value. Replace the null to the given value, right? We have discussed already discussed. If you don't know about the coalesce function, I have briefly discussed about the coalesce function in my previous videos. Please make sure to check that video. So default average function exclude the nulls. Defaultly the average function exclude the nulls, but we don't want to exclude the nulls. We want to make the nulls as 0. So we want to deal with the nulls, right? So we are using the coalesce function. What does mean the coalesce function? It will be if we give the column and we want to make the nulls as a 0, it will replace the first null as a 0, right? That's the main intuition. So we are replacing first the inner function writes and the coalesce of sales comma 0. Sales we will be getting to the database and we'll check whether it's a null and it will be replaced as a 0. And now if we do the average function mean we can get the correct output and correct sales, right? So that's the main intuition. So why we want to do like that means if we do the if we consider the if we exclude the null means if there are the 3 clauses, but if the SQL will consider nulls as a 0, we exclude null. Average function excludes null. So the total count is 2. If you do like that means the average value is less. If there are 3 clauses, if you do the 2 total number is 2 means the average is wrong, right? So that only we want to deal with the nulls. So only we can get the correct average function. correct average output. So the main intuition, right? So first of all, let's discuss about the briefly discuss how works begin the screen. Average of code of sales comma 0 over partition by product. So we are making the subset of the window. It is one subset. It is one window, right? Inside the window, we are doing the sum average functions 20, 10, 5. If you do like that, data total number of 3. So the total number is 11. So the output is 3 plus at the now 11, 11, 11 in the row level calculations. So same for the gloves 33, 33, 33. So 30 plus 70 plus the divided by 3. We are making the null as a 0, right? So that only the output is 33. So wait, just a minute, guys. Yes, guys. The first in the beginning itself we have made the we are use the equals function. What is the use of the equals function? It replaces the null value and it will be replace the sales as wherever we find the null. Wherever the equals function finds the null, it will be replace the null as a 0. So here it will be make as 0. Again considering the 30 plus 70 divided by 3. Divided by 3 and this 0 is also a value. It divided by 3 means we get the average as a 33. So it will be applied to the every rows 33, 33, 33. That's the main intuition of the average functions, right? We have discussed the so far we have discussed about the count aggregation function, sound Windows aggregation function. After when we use the over function only, then only the SQL knows it is a Windows function. We want to calculate the Windows aggregation functions, like this we have discussed. So in the second we have discussed about the sum function, and third we have discussed about the average functions, right? In the next part we are going to discuss about the min function and max function, right? It is very simple, right? So now let's dive into it. So it returns what is the use of the min, what is the use of the min, guys, what is the use of the max? Let me know in the comment below. It is a quiz spot. So again I'm telling all the quiz spots also are available in the KishoreLytics LMS portal. Go and take the quiz, go and practice with the KishoreLytics LMS portal. So I just make for you guys, I just want to create a own environment for our subscribers. So I just created the LMS portals for our videos, and soon we are integrating the IDs also. We are integrating the IDs. You're just going to enter the code in our portal itself. You don't want to get install the Microsoft SQL server. You don't want to install the Python. No, I don't want like that. I'm just creating, I'm just building, I'm just adding the features again and again. So week by week I'm just adding the features, right? Again the second feature, this is one feature, and I just plan to conduct an assessment, like if there is a 8 p.m. then only the assessment is going to be enabled for you guys. It's just for the 1 hour. So that's the main intention. When the videos get into the YouTube, after 30 minutes I just enabled the quiz part, so that you can take the quiz for that the 30 minutes only, that the assessment has been available in our portal. That's the exclusive assessment, right? So these are the features I'm going to add in later, right? Just to stay good, guys, and lot of free courses are also available, and these free courses are available then that only the portal also membership, like we are doing. So these are the features we are going to add. So just subscribe to the KishoreLytics channel, and there are many free courses are also available in the later. Just please support, guys. So now let's get back to the topic. It returns the minimum value. What it returns? It returns the minimum value in a window. So just giving min of sales over partition by product. So if we give we are doing the partition by product. So the query enters into the database and it just make it as the caps as one window and gloves as the another window. So again it will be found that minimum value is a 5, and it will be applied to the every row, each row, right? 5, 5, 5, and it makes as the column as a min. That's the main intuition, guys. As we previously discussed about the sum sum average count, right? That's like the max function, exact replica. We are going to return the maximum value. Again we are doing the partition by product, and we are going, it will be getting into the database, and the SQL query makes that database as a two subset of the windows. One is the caps and another one is the gloves, and again it will be found the maximum value, and the maximum value is 20, and it will be applied to the each rows 20, 20, 20. 20 is the highest value for the sales, right? So that's only it will be replaced. Here in the second subset of the window, the 40 is the highest value, so it will be replaced with the 40, 40, 40. That's all about the min and max functions, right? So now let's discuss about the how the works begin the screen, right? If these are the tasks, guys, these are the tasks. These are the implementation also, practical implementation also. These are the practical implementations. So find the highest sales for each product. Let me discuss how to write the query. It's like min of the sales over partition by the product. It will be getting it to make the two subset of the windows, caps and gloves. right? And will be find the minimum value and will be replaced into the each row. For them here the minimum value is 0, so 0 0 0. That's all about the main function. Same for the max function. It is assignment, guys. Just do it for your own. So now let's discuss of the main. It is a main the use cases of the Windows aggregation function, right? Use cases of the Windows function. Why we want to use, right? That's the main intention. When to use and where to use. When to use and where to use. So the first use cases is the running total, and the second use case is the rolling total. Later we will discuss what is meant by the running total, what is meant by the rolling total. Let's discuss about detailing. It aggregates all the values from the beginning up to the current point without dropping of the older data. Here the main intention is without dropping the older data. It will be counting the again. Later I will be showing the demo how it works behind the screen. Now it's let's know about the running total. What is meant by the running total? Let's consider, guys. 1 2 3 4 5. Again I'm just writing this is the running total. The for this one it is a 1. Again if I enter the second column I just want to add the third both the columns, current row plus previous row. That's the main intention, right? Current row plus previous row. That's the main intention, guys. So the second 2 plus 1 it is 3, right? So again it will be given in the current row plus previously, and what are the columns are available. How we can write the formula? Current row plus sum of previous rows. That's the main intention, right? So likewise the current row it is 3, the sum of the previous rows means it is 3, right? 3 plus 3 it is 6. The current row is 4 and the sum of the previous row is 6, right? Yes, 6. The current row is 4, the sum of the previous row is 6, and it will be output as 10. Now what is the current row? Current row is 5, the sum of the previous row is 10, right? So the output is 15. These are the running total. These are the running total. It will without dropping all of the older data, right? The running total, it aggregates all the values from the beginning up to the current point without dropping the data, without dropping the older data. That is mean by the running total, right? I'm explaining very clearly, guys. So what is mean window? It aggregates all the value from beginning of the current point, from current row plus sum of the previous rows. That's the main intention. But main intention is the without dropping the older data. That's the main intention. And the second point is all about the rolling total. What is mean by the rolling total? It aggregates all the values with a fixed time window. With a fixed time window. That's the main intention. It aggregates all the values with a fixed time window. Example 30 days. As a new data is added, the oldest data will be dropped. 1 minute, guys. Yes, guys. What is meant by the rolling total? It aggregates all the values. It also aggregates all the values with a fixed time window. As new data is added, the old data points will be dropped. Here the old data points will be dropped if you add the new data. That's called the rolling total. The differences between the running total and the rolling total is nothing but it will be adding without dropping the older data. Here the rolling total is adding with the oldest data will be if you add the new data means the oldest data will be dropped. That's the main intention, guys. So this has been the running total and differences between the rolling total, right? Let's discuss about this. Sum of the cells over order by month, right? It will be adding unbound preceding. This is the current row. This is the current row. This is unbound. We are previous months, right? Sum is 20. Again, I'm writing 20. Here the same as is 20. Month. We are going to order by the month, right? So this only it will be adding January, February, March, April, June, July. So 20 again it will be the sum of the previous rows. Current row plus sum of the previous rows. What is the current row? 10. The sum of the previous row is 20. So 20 plus 10 is 30. So the March month cells is 30. And the sum of the previous row is 30. So 60. So the sum of the previous April month sales is 5. The sum of the previous rows is 60. So we added this and we have to get as the output as 65. The sum of the current row is 70. The sum of the previous rows is 65. So the current output is 135. Right. So the third is the in the July month sales is 40. The sum of the previous rows is 135. So the output is 175. Right, guys. Right, guys. It will be getting as output like rows between unbound and preceding and the current row. It is a default for the sum of the cells. It is the default for the. It is default for the running total. right? Rows between and unbound, preceding and the current row. What does it mean? It means we are going to do the present row and the sum of the previous rows, right? Preceding, unbound, preceding and the current row. Current row is nothing but the current row. Unbound, preceding means the previous rows, right? That's all about the, it is default for the running total. So for the rolling total, we want to give rows between 2 and preceding, 2 preceding and the current row. What is meant by that? We are going to do the sum of the 2 preceding rows and the current row. That's the main intuition. Like if we, for the January month the sales is 20, so the sales is sum of the sales is 20. For the February month sales of the 20, we want to do 20 plus 10 is 30, and for the March month the sum of the sales is 30 and the previous month sales is 30, so 60, right? So the for the April month the sum of sales is 5 and the 2 precedings we want to do the 2 precedings, right? 20 30 plus for 10, 30 plus 10 40, right? 40 plus 5 45. Well, likewise, we are going to do that. The sum of in June month there are 70 sales, and the sum of the 2 precedings we have to do 2 precedings, 30 plus 5 35, 30 plus 70 105. Likewise, we want to do 40 40. Here the sum of the in the July month sales is 40. The 2 preceding rows is 70 plus 5 75 and the 40 105. That's the main intuition. We want to give the rows between, here that we are giving, right, rows between 2 preceding. 2 preceding means we have to do the 2 preceding rows only and the current row. What are the rows between above in the 2 rows, and we want to do the current row. That's all about the rolling total. That's all about the running total and the rolling total, guy. Are you guys beware of the rolling? If you have any doubts, if you have any comments, if you have any feedbacks, I'm happy to accept and I'm happy to answer all those comments. So just let me know in the comment below and subscribe to the KishoreLytics channel, guys, if you find this video useful. So now let's dive into the conclusions of this Windows aggregation functions, and we have in this video we have discussed about the aggregation function. We have to do the set of the sum calculations on the set of the values. We have it calculates some of the set of the values and return the single aggregated value we discussed. The rules is we have discussed the expression, and expression it may be the number data type. For the all function, the count function it may be the all data type. So all the classes are optional, but all the classes mean the partition class optional, order class optional, we have discussed, right? Use cases we have discussed. Overall analysis, total group, auto to all analysis, comparison analysis, identify duplicates, outlier detection, running total, rolling total. These are we discussed briefly. Running total and rolling total and the moving average we have discussed briefly, right? So these are the things we have discussed so far. We have discussed, right? I'm just giving also assignment to this video. So if you find this video useful, please make sure to subscribe to the KishoreLytics channel. And if you find this video, you want to share to your friends also gain this knowledge of the Windows aggregation function. So in the next video, we discuss about the rank functions. In the rank function, we have discussed about the row number, rank, and dense rank. What difference between the rank and dense rank, and what is about the entile and the cumulative distance we have discussed, and percentile rank we have discussed. A lot of things are waiting, guys. And in the next videos, we have discussed about the value analytical functions. We have discussed like lag, lead. These are the very interesting functions in the Windows functions, right? So a lot of the contents are available. So stay tuned, guys. Subscribe to the KishoreLytics channel. If you find this video, please make sure to subscribe to the KishoreLytics, guys. Support to the KishoreLytics channel. So this is Kishore signing off from KishoreLytics channel. Tata, bye bye.